We are recording.
Okay, tonight we're gonna start the Finance Committee agenda. We have Sherry Free from Hutchison, Gilligan and Free to discuss our audit for the 2021 school year.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Happy to see you again and happy holidays. It's that time of year again. So there's a couple of things I want to report on. There's a few things that we're required as auditors to communicate to you whenever we do an audit. So we have a standard communications letter. And I'd like to point out, we have two options in the letter that we can issue. We can issue a management letter if we find a significant deficiency or material weakness in your financial statements, and that becomes public information. We can also issue, if there are no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we issue what's called a required communications letter, which is just, we might have some suggestions or comments, educational things in there, but that is between us and the board, and that is not necessarily a published document. So I'm happy to report you did not have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. Your records are clean, and you do have a clean opinion, which is good. That's the best you can get. But there's a few things I do need to communicate to you on using the required communications letter. So basically, I'm going to tell you that we had no difficulties in performing the audit. Management was very cooperative, helped us with everything that we needed, provided us with everything that we requested. I know we were a pain in the neck for a few days, but management was very, very helpful in making sure that we got the documentation that we needed to perform the audit. We did not have any uncorrected misstatements. We may have found a few items, there's a few journal entries, but nothing major. Our theory is if we see something that needs correcting, even though it may be below materiality, we're going to suggest the journal entry, because when we leave here, we like to know that the records are as clean as possible. So we had a few minor journal entries, but nothing significant, and everything was corrected by management. We had no disagreements with management. Management was very helpful with everything. Management provided us with a representation letter. Basically, it's a letter that says, yes, we provided you with everything you asked for, and we answered all your questions. It's a 3-page letter that says this, but that's basically what it covers. We're not aware of any consultations with other independent accountants, what they refer to as opinion shopping. So in case you didn't like what we had to say, you didn't go somewhere else to see if you could find a better opinion. So there was no opinion shopping that we're aware of. And we don't have any substantive recommendations, anything that we came across. If we had any suggestions, we talked to Teresa about it. It was not significant. I do have one item that I do want to remind you, and I think I brought it up last year, and you've probably been talking about it. It's the implementation of the lease standard. So the Governmental Accounting Standards Board issued their statement number 87 a few years ago. It's been pushed off a couple of times now, but basically what it calls for is leases will have to be reported on your books as a liability with a corresponding, what they call an asset, but it's basically the use of an asset. So for example, let's say you have a lease for a whole bunch of computers that over the course of, that you're paying, $25,000 a year on the lease, and it's for 5 years. So this is a lease that you're going to have to record that $25,000 a year, whatever unpaid liability is on that, you'll record the liability, and then you'll record a corresponding present value for the use of the computers. So it's not something that you're going to see on a regular basis on your internal reporting, because modified accrual is how you report. That's how you report to the state for your budgetary purposes. But you're going to see it on your financial statements next year, because on the full accrual statements, we will have to report it. So with that being said, I don't know, are there any questions about the lease standard?
So I think I remember hearing that last year as well.
Yeah, I think I brought it up last year because it was, we knew it was coming up, and then they postponed it 18 months. So actually implementation is next year.
We don't have many leases here anyway, right? Those copiers.
You might have copiers or something like that. Yeah.
Printers.
Basically, we're going to look at the underlying materiality of the asset that's being leased. And if it's below materiality for us, we're probably going to recommend not reporting some, like if you have a postage meter that's worth that, and it's below your capitalization threshold, I would not recommend pulling that lease onto your financial statement. But if the underlying equipment is in excess of your capitalization policy, which I'm not sure what's your $5,000 threshold, if the underlying value of the asset is $5,000 or more, then we would probably recommend putting the lease on your books. Below that, it's up to you. If you tell me you want to book them, I'm not going to argue, but we're not going to make an issue out of booking small things that aren't material. Now, I apologize for collecting the financial statements. I have to ask a question. I mean, the reason that I had to collect the financial statements is whenever you issue a set of financial statements, we have to make sure that what's out in the public agrees with what our final issue is. At the time we were about ready to issue these financial statements, we had a final PDF form ready to be printed. And then you had an issue arise that the board decided you would like to put a disclosure in the financial statements. So the only difference you're going to see when we reprint these, because apparently my staff printed the old file and not the new file, I apologize for that, is there is literally one page that changes. It's the subsequent event notes. And I will read the wording that we've added. It says, subsequent to June 30th, 2021, allegations of inappropriate conduct were raised regarding a member of the school's administration. The school is conducting an investigation, and at this time, no monetary issues have been noted. We did communicate with the attorney on this, and they provided us basically with that information. Putting this sentence in, it's completely up to you. It is not required because we have not identified a material issue. So we could issue the statements that you had without that sentence, but I know that the board was very sensitive to wanting to be as transparent as possible and requested that we add that sentence to the final financial statement. So we will be reprinting the final statements and they will include that sentence. Other than that, what you have, what I'm going to take back is substantially identical. There's a couple of things I do want to point out. As I mentioned before, you do have a clean opinion, which is the best you can do. So that's, I want to commend management and the board on taking care of your money very well.
Nice job, Teresa.
Yeah. So the one thing I like to look at, and you've probably looked at this too, is I like to look at the budget versus actual report, because I always kind of view that as your report card. You came up with a budget, here's how we think we were going to perform, and how did you actually perform? And I'm happy to say that your original budget, well, your budget anticipated that you would balance your budget by using some of your, about $1.5 million of your fund balance. So it basically was budgeting for a deficit to use some of your reserves. What happened in actuality is you showed a surplus of a little over $100,000. And the main difference was cost savings in your vocational programs. So that just tells me that on a fiduciary responsibility, you guys are doing a good job keeping your costs in line. The difference in the revenue was slightly lower than anticipated, so it's all in cost savings. So I have to say, good job on that.
And then that is mostly due to grants, right?
That's what I was going to say. We got a bunch of grants.
Yeah.
We have a lot of grants, yes.
Yeah, and we've been seeing that a lot. It's like every school we've audited has significant money, but I don't know if we talked about it or not, but we're seeing a lot of single audits that are going to be coming up in the new year. So you'll probably have one too. Anytime that you have federal funds expended, and I like to explain this, you may have been awarded the money this year, but a single audit is expenditure driven, and you have to report based on when you spend the money. So when if you spend $750,000 or more on federal funds in a particular year, that's when a single audit is required. And a single audit is a compliance audit. It's basically an extra audit. And the good news is it can be paid for using those grant funds because there is an additional fee for it. So, we have a separate line item. Your engagement letter each year shows a line for single audit. We've shown it for years, but you haven't had a single audit for years. We just list it there. So in the year that you end up having this single audit, then that will kick in and you can charge that. You can spread it out across federal programs, and we can talk about how you allocate that. because it does apply to all federal programs. It's not just one. I mean, there might be one grant that threw you over the top, but generally they like to see you prorated amongst what federal funds you received. So that will come into play next year. But this year, I think your records look good. So I don't know if there's any particular questions that you have. If not, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the box back and then we'll drop off. I'll have them reprinted tomorrow.
So,
Okay, well, I trust. Yeah.
Well, I'm okay to just get a PDF sent to me too,
yeah,
if you want to
Yeah.
save on
PDF.
printing costs.
all right.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
I mean, Megan's the only one, she'll have to drive over
I
here
still
to
want an
pick
old
one
school
up.
paper copy because I still
No
don't
problem.
read on
We usually
screen.
print like 15 or 20 bound copies to provide to you and you'll get an updated copy. But it'll have that extra sentence in it then.
She's on 3 boards, she heats her home
Oh.
for financial reports.
I'm not saying anything. I literally will use these to start my wood stove. They're not going to waste. If there's no further questions, then
Very good, thank you.
I guess I'll see you all next year. Have happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so then on the agenda, we also will have a motion for renewal for the 3rd term of the food service procurement contract with Clearview School Services. It'll be $800 this year instead of $600, and then to having the threshold of 50,000 meals or more served. So that's the procurement contract for food service. Budget, we're still working on getting numbers together for that. As a reminder, all new officers will need to sign paperwork for Tracy and I tonight, so don't run off too quickly. And other than that, that's all I have for finance. If there's any questions on the bills or financials?
Someone else want to take it?
I did have a question, SSC,
Okay, so SSC was issued a check for September, October, and November at a partial payment. So I went through David Kahn and we issued a check for that.
There was a percentage discount or ribbon.
Yeah, so we took the amount, I took off, in there was an old equipment amount, so I backed that out first, and then whatever was left, took 20% of that as the labor, and came up with the dollar amount for that.
and did you hear anything back from SSC, any complaints or?
He emailed yesterday, and I told him that he would be receiving the check as that partial payment and send him the calculations, and I have not heard back, and at that point, Mr. Khan said to forward anything to him if they have any other issues.
Oh, we have 15 minutes.
Do I need to pause the recording?
Yes.
We are recording.
Okay, so the first topic we have to discuss is the snow removal update. And I believe Dr. Herrera has that information.
Okay.
Sorry to put you on the spot. Did you want me to read the?
No,
Oh, okay.
nothing putting you on the spot. So recently we worked with, as everyone knows, and during my report, we're going to be talking about the hiring of the supervisor of buildings and grounds. I had conversations with them regarding, as a follow-up, Teresa put together some, reach out to, I believe, 6. Teresa, if you could just speak to that, the quotes on snow removal, and I could then take from that
Yeah,
point
so I
forward.
had made some calls and sent some email requests for quotes to their 5 or 6 companies, and we only got a response back from one. And I had emailed that response to Mike for
Yes.
that information.
Knowing that we don't want to have just one quote, I wanted to meet with the three directors of buildings and grounds. Quakertown, Mr. Christine gave me a name of a contact who came out yesterday. We don't have a price from him as a quote. We met with, and I gotta give our Don Moyer and our buildings and grounds crew credit because they drew some maps up in terms of what they believe they could do and what they would like the potential company for snow and de-icing. Very concerned, obviously, being down personnel for the safety and well-being of our students and our faculty, et cetera. So the snow plowing, when they came out, the first thing we want to be able to do is identify the areas with going out of, the process of request for proposals, the RFP, et cetera. If that's, and so we also took notes and we identified areas that we believe should be cleaned. We also have some notes, and that's really it for the update. The decision is going to be to the JOC. Do we want to continue this route and get everything for an RFP under the time frame? And I think we could have more information when I go over the process for where we are with the supervisor and building grounds hire, because I also prioritize that at the same time. The person that came out yesterday from Rob Christine is who Quakertown currently uses. And I thought that would be a benefit, knowing that another school district's using them. Again, but he hasn't provided any quotes or prices. I did not think it was right to come to the JOC with one quote, even a second one, before we had a chance to review that on short notice. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry I don't have more of an update on that. but-
Yeah, we're just really behind because we talked about putting out an RFP last month. So we really need to get that moving because it could snow anytime and then we're gonna be stuck. So we need to get that out ASAP.
So David, comment, is there a minimum amount of time that an RFP needs to be posted for?
This is a service contract, so technically you don't have to RFP it at all. So you can basically set the structure of the RFP any way you want.
So if we wanted to put an RFP out for, say, 2 weeks or a week, I don't even know if that would be effective.
Yeah. If you could get quotes that quickly, you can do it as quickly as is feasible.
Or if we would sign on with a contract with, say, once we get the price for this company that Quakertown uses, if it's essentially only for these 4 months of this winter, we sign up for 1 year, then we can make sure we do an RFP for next year and go through the process, draw it out and do it the right way, the longer way, but this would probably leave us best protected.
Well, I think the problem is we were supposed to be doing it the right way a month ago and we haven't. And I think it sends a bad message when we're just hand calling companies instead of putting it out there publicly so that everybody can bid on it. So, and then, like you said, one bid is for one, proposal. Is
Well, I
not
think we're gonna have 2, as soon as the one from Quakertown.
potentially, but,
Yeah.
I think it's not the right process.
Do we have, and this is a question you might not be able to answer, what happens if tomorrow it snows? Do we have a contingency plan in place?
We are showing up and helping shovel.
No, you are, I'm not.
I
right where it now.
don't care.
Dave can
I'll-
help, but not me.
Feedback, I can get whatever, I'll drive that.
I'm just asking,
Lord.
We have we have salt. We used to use salt in the bags, right? So my understanding for that is we want to be able to purchase the salt in the right way, the quantities. And with our existing personnel, which we're down,
Right.
we're going to have to be able to make do and do the best that we can. And one of the things about the tech school is, like you mentioned, everyone comes and works and helps out. Dennis, we believe you did that in the past.
Dennis,
He's worked at sidewalk spreader
The Bobcat.
or the Bobcat. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're-
Can I call dibs?
Didn't we buy a blower or something for that ditch track? There's a big brush, isn't there?
Yeah.
Brush.
Yeah.
Remember that?
That's a lot of money.
Got a couple zero turns out there behind the small engine shop. They can get the welding people to weld a blade on the front of that, like the 18 style.
put a blade on your Tesla?
Yeah, that thing only sits off the ground like 4 inches.
So it's almost there.
Yeah.
You can just use it. Let's just lower it.
And you can use your phone to control it.
Yeah, use my-
How much, in the ballpark, how much is does a year cost? I mean, I know we only have one price, but
I would say it's probably per snowstorm.
About
It's
what's
not
the-
how per year, because it depends on the amount of snow that we get.
It does, and so you could also build it in some like 1 to 3, maybe able to handle, it's a 3 to 6, et cetera. And I'll pull that up.
historically, how much have we spent? And is it, because there's two issues, right? I mean, tactically, if it snows tomorrow, you know, we're all in 4-wheel drive snow shovels coming down here to bail out. And then strategically, we need a service provider that we can trust, that it's, and some of these guys are flighty. And to be able to show up when we need them. So it's risk versus reward. I don't want to risk not being able to have the grounds clean for the kids, because, you know, it may not, your point's well taken. It's not the process that we should
I think the
follow.
point is, we had the same conversation last month and decided we were gonna put out an RFP. Now we're a month later and we're having the same conversation again and there was no RFP. I think that's.
And we will not have this conversation
Just
until for
There was
One
no,
response. We only had one response.
We'll have to say
back,
about
so-
it.
There wasn't a request for an
that wasn't-
RFP. We asked administration to go out and search for people.
No, we asked them to
couldn't do
put
it.
out an
That's true.
RFP and we asked
That's
David
true.
Kahn
Not
if
last
we needed
week,
to
no,
vote to
not
do an
last
RFP or if we needed it, or if the administration could just do it. And his response was that they could just go out and do it.
Yes, thanks. Let's get it.
Mike, did you reach out to Kelly?
We're here,
Over at Pennington?
we're here now,
Yes.
you know.
Did he get it?
It was Quakertown, so that person who they're using, and what Rob said was recapping, you're not required, this is Rob Christine, you know, to do the RFP. He had 2 quotes, he picked one, so as soon as I heard that, that's when I called up and we scheduled that person to come in. And he did mention that we would still be required to purchase the salt, et cetera. That's where we're at now. I understand the board's direction to be transparent and the RFP puts it out there for the best possible price.
Yeah.
This is what we're dealing with right now, knowing that Quakertown is using them is a little bit added bonus, right? And that they went through the process. And so as soon as we get that quote, I'll report back to the JOC.
Well, here's the only issue is, you know, our next meeting is until January, 3rd week in January. Again, the chances that we aren't gonna have snow before then are pretty slim.
It's going, well.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm-
so, Mr. Khan, could we almost give them permission to approve? I don't know how this would work. How would we get this so we didn't necessarily have to wait until the next meeting to hire someone?
Do we have numbers, Teresa, from last year for
It was
snow?
all in-house.
It was all in-house. Snap. Okay.
Oh, I think I lost,
No, I'm here. I was just waiting till everybody.
my screen went to connecting anyway. That's why.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know how we could approve a quote before we get a quote.
That's what I mean. I don't know how that would work.
I think you're behind the 8 ball here, and if you can find someone to do it, I
No, I
think we
think
need
what
to
he's
give the
saying is-
administration the opportunity, permission, or the authority to hire them, and we'll ratify it after the fact. I mean, that's been done before.
Right, but he's getting a second quote, and I think what Chris is saying is, once they get the second quote and they have 2 quotes in front of them, how can we execute something
Just
in
like I
between
said,
meetings?
give the administration the authority to hire them.
Can I
And
go
we'll-
through the committee, the facilities committee, and bring it by them? for
I
review?
mean, maybe we can do what you were gonna talk about later, which is send out the proposals to all of the JOC members to review, and then you know,
Uh,
get feedback on what direction to go.
That's
and
not
then-
public. If
Yeah, I
you want
think
public,
Right.
you can't do
Right.
that.
No, you would have to, you could
And then you ratify
individually,
it afterwards. What's the difference? Let them hire
That's what I'm
somebody
talking about.
and then we'll
You-
ratify it later.
you would individually give feedback and then.
Can I make a proposal?
He's trying.
Go ahead.
Let's attempt, so let's authorize the administration to go out, whether it's a formal RFP or not, let's authorize them to go out and get as many quotes as they can. If, in fact, if we're gonna have weather, then you don't need JOC action, who, you know, the executive director or acting executive director is required to do what is necessary at that point, including contracting with someone to get rid of the snow. And we'll just do that if we need to before the January meeting. If we don't need to before the January meeting, you can all decide which way you want to go at that meeting. But we don't need formal board action for the executive director in the absence of any existing contract to say, you show up and plow our property, and they can do that, and then it would get ratified at the next meeting.
But are these companies looking for an annual contract and not just a one job contract?
Right, so what we're doing, but we don't have a lot of choice, as Mr. Hollowell pointed out. What we're doing is gambling slightly. If we're lucky, you get to make the choice at the JOC meeting. If we're not lucky, then you know, the executive director or acting executive director is simply going to have to make a call based on the quotes they have in hand when it's time to make that call.
What about the
Yep.
salt? Since we don't have the salt, or we just.
We do have some salt.
We
I
have
think we
some-
do some.
we have-
Would they purchase the salt, but we would be
No.
live?
We would
costs?
Yeah, we would purchase it.
Do you have a contract to purchase salt?
We would, yes.
You know where you can find it? Okay.
Can't you get salt through CoStars?
Yes.
Yeah, so that shouldn't be a problem.
The other thing I would have in mind would be to go out there and try to hire people. We're down 2 maintenance people now, right? If we had a full staff, or even more than what we have now, we would be able to handle, the staff would be able to handle a small amount of snow. It would be able to salt and clear the walks and clear the driveways and stuff.
I think their hope was that they would be able to hire the building and grounds person first, so that person could help hire the other people. But
Okay,
again,
well, let's get on
it's
the
this
ball.
time issue that we keep
Yeah.
running into.
It's not easy to hire people.
So you'll hear in the next part, the update for the hiring of the buildings
Okay.
people. So that's a great segue into that.
Does it make sense, though, to post that position at least post it,
Which
start getting applications? The position you're talking about that's empty, the vacant position, isn't it? Or is
I
it
think they
posted
have been.
already?
It's been.
Everybody knows it's open.
Well, the building and grounds position is posted, but is that other maintenance position posted? Because I
There's
thought you
only
said
one
you were gonna
position
wait.
that's open.
There's one, Tracy.
It's
right?
just one. It's just one position. It's open.
It's just the supervisor of building and grounds.
Oh, I thought you had one other
Yeah, I
maintenance
have
person
retired.
that's open. You don't?
There's
No.
still 2 guys.
Okay. Next.
Okay, the Garland update would be next. At the last meeting, we had a tour with Garland for a few of us up on the roof. And we had approved going with their option B for the roof, to bring it up to warranty status. And we had some language that needed to be updated or worked out with David Kahn before we would approve that. So how did that go?
It went well, actually. I got a very prompt response from their in-house counsel. She recommended 2 changes to my addendum, both of which were appropriate requests. So we've got language agreed to. The only thing they want to add is the specific option that we're going with, but we're in good shape. They've agreed to the stuff that we discussed, that they would not charge inspection fees, and that by getting this work done, you know, the warranty will be in effect and will not have been interrupted.
So, and we approved that last meeting too, correct? The option B that we were gonna do, that we agreed to get that work done?
The committee did. The committee made that their official recommendation, but the JOC did not actually vote to award that contract because we wanted to make sure we had.
Yes,
24 hours in advance.
so that will be on the agenda tonight.
Mhm.
Tonight, I hope, okay.
Well, I went back and read that. You can add things to the agenda as long as it's not a major cost or a material impact. I went back and read the law and it just changed like August.
Yeah, actually, Dave Kahn could spell that out. There's a few more caveats to it than that.
You just, yeah, so you can add.
We have to
things.
actually
Right, there's
go-
definitely exceptions.
Yeah, there certainly is exceptions. You have to have a vote of 5 to agree to discuss it. Then you can actually then discuss it, make your change, then you have to resubmit the advertised agenda the day after the meeting, correct?
Yeah, you just revise the agenda and
Yeah,
publish it.
yeah.
Let them know what was-
What was,
It can be, I'm sorry.
no, it's
I
okay.
don't want to derail that, but just in the back of your mind, it can be done.
Yeah, yeah. Believe me, I know. I tried at our last meeting. I attempted. So,
Well, that's why I went back and read, whoever says no, it's not on the agenda, and that wasn't right.
yeah. Okay, so then do we have an update for the supervisor of building and grounds applications that we had gone over?
We did.
Okay.
In your packet, and I'm gonna be sharing it on their screen. Kelly Harper from Penn Ridge, Robert Christine, Alan Pratt Heimel, the directors of buildings and grounds from our sending school districts, Tracy Cram and I interviewed 6 candidates on Tuesday, December 14th. The committee selected 2 finalists to move to the next round on Monday. We're going to spend 45 minutes touring the building and doing an interview at that time with the same group. Dr. O'Connor would like to meet with them for 15 minutes to do her interview. And one of the things that we wanted to add is a NOCD assessment, which all of the directors thought it was a very good idea because this is an important hire. And in the NOCD specific assessment, the areas, it's an hour test. We'll get some information on the areas covered are electrical, plumbing, HVAC, painting, carpentry, human resource skills, safety, health, environmental, and then some related questions. So I think that would give us a very good feeling of their technical backgrounds. And then after that step, we would we will share the process and a candidate with the JOC via email to review before approval. We believe that this is a transparent, comprehensive plan, and we wanted to hear from the JOC if you wanted to add any other members of the committee to participate in any of these steps before we make the final decision.
Well, as the chairman of this facilities committee, I wouldn't mind coming in to one of these steps, either the tour with the 3 other sending districts, facilities directors, or I guess that's it. There's no other separate second interview. So yeah, I mean, I would like to, and then I don't know if Mr. Hallowell or Mr. Clemens wants
If
to.
I'm available, I could.
It's Monday, right?
Monday at 1 and 2. We backed it up where the tests will be on the opposite ends, but
They're taking the test in person here.
yes.
Is there a cost to that test?
Yeah, it's $75.
I just asked because I was thinking of taking it myself just to see how.
See how bad you feel.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my titles at my businesses.
Can we just to clarify, because I don't know if everybody caught on to what you're, so I think what they're suggesting is whoever the recommendation is that's going to be sent out to us via email will be given us a period of time for all of us to respond if there's any concerns. If concerns aren't shared, what they'd like to do is hire right away, and then our next board meeting, we approve it retroactively. I just wanted to make sure that that's clear, that we would like to not wait till the next meeting because this is such an important
We need
position.
somebody.
Yeah,
Well, they're very motivated to pick the right person, because
I'm
they're
okay
the ones
with
that are responsible for it, and we'll
yeah, oh,
gladly
yeah.
hold them
I wanted everybody to be, I wanted to be clear what the process is. I think I agree with the process, yeah.
I heard.
Is there anybody that has any of the candidates that had any things holding them to a current employer or,
That's something we would discuss on Monday.
okay, I didn't know if it already had come up, so. That would help, you know, figure out the timeline.
Is that
What time of day on them?
1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, or the tours?
Okay, so I believe that is it for the facilities meeting.
And we are recording. Okay, we have 3 items on tonight's agenda for program. The first item is our exercise science and sports technology update. Throughout the last several months, we went over labor market needs, occupational advisory committee. And so at the last meeting, we talked about a budget, and we put together a budget. It's always better to under promise and over deliver. So this budget that we put together is very conservative in that the salary we budgeted for step 8 plus masters. We have the benefits. Outside of the benefits are the textbooks, technology, due certification, classroom setup. The number at the bottom that we're presenting is outside of salary and benefits for the first year. I know, Teresa helping and Tracy is the number that we're presenting. And you'll notice that a number of the costs are just built in, especially for year 1, like the classroom setup, equipment, et cetera. So I just wanted to share that with the group. We hosted the counselors today from all 3 sending school districts, and they noted that they believe it'll be well attended as the assistant superintendents, et cetera. I called the state about the CATs, putting it in for approval, and they mentioned that it'll open in February, but it's not predicated us, moving forward if the JOC would like to continue. The sending school districts would like to be able to market it and promote it. I've presented in the past a website and course descriptions that if you give approval, we could get that marketed and promoted. And our next step would be develop a job posting for you to review. And then we could begin the hiring process if you so wish to do so.
So do we have to vote to approve the program then, or just the job description and the hiring?
Just the job description, ironically enough. Your JOC policy
Tracy's
has
shaking.
explicit, why are you shaking your head, Tracy?
Because all of our teachers are under one job description.
Well, I'm sorry, the job posting, like obviously if you're going to appoint. But the JOC policy has explicit delegation language to the executive director for developing programs. It doesn't appear to require any additional action by the JOC.
So one other thing I wanted to bring up for the new board members and even for Chuck, who's been here before, is the funding formula has changed from the sending district. It's now the average daily enrollment.
That's been changing for 30 years.
Well, it's
Mentioned
what-
for 30 years. So finally we changed it. I saw the new formula.
Yeah, so essentially, that $217,000 are, minus the staff costs, $56,000 is all really the program itself. Cost would be split, Quakertown would get 40-some%, Penridge 30-some, Palisades, less than 10.
Yeah, that's the whole.
12, is it 12? Yes.
I'll be taking stuff away.
But we have, I agree with the new funding formula, and we were getting a bit of a break the old way. And so we'll get our, we'll have our portion of the cost.
So is that
Yeah,
on
what do
the
you think?
agenda then already?
Use it hard, so.
No, it doesn't need it.
Yeah, and honestly, the funding formula doesn't affect this anyway, because this wouldn't have gone under a different formula anyway.
No, yeah, but the question I had then was, David, do we need to really approve anything then tonight for them to post the hiring?
No, and I will tell you, I was slightly surprised, but it's very specific language in the policy about you all control the programs, and then the last paragraph is, in order to do this, the executive director will go do the programs. So you don't have to vote on anything up until the point where you're appointing new staff.
Okay. So is everyone comfortable with them getting that posting out there?
So I just want to say that position has not been budgeted in this year, so just know that.
Well, right, we would be posting it for next year.
Okay.
Yeah,
22, 23.
but it might be helpful to get it out there early.
Yes, thank you.
Are we saying we're posting it ASAP?
Whenever the administration feels comfortable posting it.
Yeah, it's not wouldn't be starting until next year, so I don't believe there's a.
Whenever, put it this way,
Yeah.
Tracy can post it.
Okay, hold on.
My suggestion is Tracy can post it whenever Tracy thinks it's the ideal timing to post it. How's
Yes, that
Does
sounds
sound
like
good?
great
Sounds good.
language.
Hey, Tracy, is that a little open-ended for you?
I can handle that.
Okay, all right. Just making sure.
That's why we just wouldn't hire somebody without approving the program. We'd look kind of silly doing that. So,
It's true.
and I'm absolutely fine. I think it's a good program. We should go.
And we'll
There's a
decide,
lot of,
Remember that.
there's already a lot of excitement
yeah.
about this program, around this program.
Now, could the sending districts shut this down if they voted to not accept it?
No.
Well,
I guess they would have
if they
to
didn't
not
wanna
accept
fund
the
it,
budget, yeah.
They could not fund it.
They could not approve the budget based on
Yeah.
this line item, but
It would be silly.
That won't happen.
Yeah, everybody's excited about it.
It goes back
No,
to
I
the
agree.
process. We've met with the assistant superintendents, the counselors, the curriculum, even the 8th grade, based on your recommendation, phys ed, to make sure that we have enough, interest in that. So we've added it. I think when we follow the process, it's.
And we've had a lot of input from, some really valuable people in the field that have
World
come
class,
in and really helped share perspectives to help make this the best program we can. So I'm excited about it.
I thank you, thank everyone. Announcement, dogs, I don't know if George, Caitlin, Kukas is gonna be excited about this, but the dogs are gonna return to animal and veterinary science. So due to COVID, we did not have the dogs come back with the doggy daycare and a lot of the services. So we are expecting that back right after the new year. And the students and staff are very excited about that.
And this is open to the public, dogs coming in? Okay.
Yes,
So right now, any dogs that were here, we're just here from staff members.
yes.
Okay.
And Bucks County, I just added this community college update. It's in your packet. We recently signed an articulation agreement where our students may receive up to 18 credits through the college. And, it's great for in career tech ed. We did this last year with Del Valle University. It's not an either or scenario. You could earn skill certifications and get credits while you're still. And Mr. Cormack was very big on making sure that we continue to expand those articulation credits, and we're going to do that across all of our programs. And that's my report, unless there's any questions for program.
I did have one other question for programs. I'm not sure if this is the right place to do it, but field trips.
Mhm.
So I know it has come up before, and I do believe that the animal, the vet tech
Mhm.
students are going to the farm show this year. Are field trips then open for all programs now, or are some programs still limited on whether or not they can do their, I know Skills USA will be most likely happening live this year as well.
Yes, we're opening up field trips, and on Monday, we have one to the North Wales water tower. There's a hydro pillar that we have a welding instructor that came from some members of Penn Ridge. And so they're super excited to go out there. So we just got that a couple weeks ago. There's a quick turnaround. Our instructor is going to be taking the van, going to see that water tower. The company that hires CB&I is a national company, so they're going to be able to see welding at the site. And they're also going to be able to get potential jobs and careers out of that. So if that's okay with the board, we're going to move forward with the field trips.
So just to be clear then, there's no restrictions, no out-of-state restrictions or competition restrictions, because it sounds like there were some restrictions we maybe that we weren't actually aware of, in the past. And so I want to make sure what you're saying is we're fully open. Any of them that bring field trips, we go through the regular approval process and there's no restrictions on them, correct?
Correct. So we know that overnight would be JOC formal approval, et cetera, but outside of that, they would be brought to you for approval.
Perfect. Okay.
Out of state? I think in state, right?
Well, go ahead, Tracy.
Out of state has to have JOC.
Yeah, I would think so.
Mhm.
In state, I think.
Well, I know the cosmetology is, every year they go up to New York for the big vendor convention. I don't even remember what it's called.
Right, I just heard that, I guess there was
That's gotta be approved.
some of them thought that out of state was being restricted, and so that out of state trips couldn't be brought to us, and I just want to make sure that they can bring them to us.
There was a hiatus on even field trips in general, but that is no longer.
Okay.
Good.
It probably depended on when it was.
I see we have a
They
change
published the
question.
restrictions, travel restrictions, mask up, don't mask. It's such a tangled mess. This is the way I characterize it with ours. Who the heck knows what's going on?
Did you?
Yeah.
It could change in the
Just to
next
clarify,
2
we're
weeks.
not
It could
asking
change
you to go to New
by
York.
No, I understand.
Yeah, because you have to be vaccinated and
No.
you have this many that are vaccinated out of this many.
Yes, no, I understand. New York City is tough with the vaccination requirements.
Just so you know, you're allowed to ask.
You're allowed to ask, yes.
Not that you have to.
And if you only take, a few, maybe you can fit them in the van.
I ain't driving to New York.
I don't blame you.
We're not that brave.
The students are very excited. Thank you for that. They
Yeah.
really are, and our instructors. Thank you.
I think that's it, right?
Mhm.
Good for-
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What's next?
That session.
No, we're not doing
Executive
policy tonight.
No policy tonight.
I included the policies in everyone's packet just for the new board members, because there's a first and second reading. If there's any questions, it would be a nice transition.
So these are both listed for 8 PM. So I guess we could start an executive session at any time since it's not open.
As long as everybody on.
Yeah, I guess everybody's on. We just have to kick some people off and
Is
out.
Diane,
Dennis will have to set up
is
a.
Diane supposed to?
Diane's supposed to be here. I don't
That's why I'm
know.
asking because.
You know what? Let
There's
me
still
check
two
my
that are
phone.
not.
It's on silent.
Please.
Oh, yes, please.
And we are recording. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the December 16th reorganization meeting for the Upper Bucks JOC. We will begin it with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I guess even though it's reorganization, it's a regular meeting. Are there any comments from the audience? Where did we do the roll call? Okay, let's do the roll call first.
An executive session.
Mr. Hallowell,
I am here.
Ms. Vanis Clemens. Here. Mr. Spear,
Here?
Mr. Cormack,
Here.
Ms. Grusiliak. Here. Mr. Ott. Mr. Shino,
She's on one.
Oh, sorry, here.
Mr. Shermer.
Here.
Mr. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Freeman. Let's see if Mr. Freeman's here.
Eight present. Okay, now we'll have any comments from the audience? Do we have anybody signed up for this part or?
We have a sign, I'm not sure which agenda. This agenda?
Oh, not the reorganization one, no. The next one.
Okay. That being said, the business for this is to nomination election of officers. We'll begin with a motion to nominate for chairperson for the 22 year.
I'd like to make a nomination, commission.
Yes.
To nominate Mr. Cormack for chair.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Miss Banis Clemens for chair. Oh, wait, we have to have a second for the first.
You need a second.
Mr. Khan, I don't believe we need a second for nominations, do we, or do we?
Yes, you do actually need a second for nominations.
Okay,
So there was a nomination for Mr. Cormack. Is there a second?
If nobody else will, I will.
Thank you.
And then a nomination for Ms. Banis Clemens. Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
You know, there's an even number of us here.
At this point, is there a motion to close nominations or more nominations?
I'll make a motion to close.
And a second?
I'll second it.
to close.
It's moved and second to close nominations. All those in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
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 Opposed to closing, say nay. Okay, nominations are closed. How do we want to handle the election? Just one
There
vote?
are typically two ways to do it. You can call the vote in the order in which the nominations were made, or you can do a roll call where each member of the JOC simply states the name of the person that they're voting for. Either way is acceptable.
Just a roll call.
There's only one nominee.
There's two.
There's two.
What's it?
I know I'm not included in your mind, but it's okay.
He seconded it. Oh,
Sorry.
all right, it's been suggested that we have a roll call vote.
So that in the roll call, when your name is called, you will say the name of the person whose nomination you're supporting.
Okay? And whenever you're ready, please.
Ms. Banis Clemens,
Myself.
Mr. Spear,
Miss Banis Clemens,
Mr. Cormack,
Ms. Clemens?
Chicken.
Ms. Rashino,
Ms. Banis Clemens.
Mr. Shermer,
Ms. Clemens. Ms. Clemens.
Mr. Rice,
All right. Oh, sorry.
I'm moving you to a further corner of the room.
All right.
Mr. Hallowell,
Been a vote for Mr. Cormack. Since I seconded it.
Cheers, thank you.
Seven.
I didn't
well,
vote.
there's one,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Clemens.
Thank you. I apologize.
I missed somebody too, so I have to be-
Okay,
Banis Clemens.
Ms. Banis Clemens won the election, so now it's her turn.
Okay. We can now accept nominations for the vice president for 2022. I would like to nominate Chris Beer for vice chair. Are there any other nominations?
We need a second again.
Or do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And I would like to nominate Diane Rashino.
Okay. Nomination for Diane Rashino. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Do you have something?
Did we get a second?
You
I'll
got a
second it.
Yeah, she
Nobody
just,
else?
Diane just said.
Okay.
Sorry, can you not hear me very well? I apologize.
I know, we heard you.
Okay,
Did we miss something, Tracy? No, okay. All right, then we'll do a roll call
I'll
for,
move to close nominations.
Oh.
I'll
Okay.
second to close nominations.
all in favor of closing nominations?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, then we'll close nominations. And we'll move to a roll call vote.
Janice Clemens,
Chris Spear,
Mr. Spear,
Mr. Spear,
Mr. Cormack,
Mr. Spear.
Mr. Shiliak,
Chris Spear.
Ms. Rashino,
myself, please.
Mr. Shermer,
Ms. Rashida?
Mr. Rice,
Mr. Spear.
Mr. Hallowell.
And Ms. Rashino.
Mr. Spear.
thank you. You all just voted for my father.
That's why I said, Mr. Spear.
Okay. We'll open nominations for the treasurer for 2022. Do we have nominations for treasurer? I would nominate James Ott for treasurer.
I'll say.
I'll nominate Jim Howell.
And I'll second.
Can we get a motion to close nominations or
I'll
are there
make
any
a
other
motion.
nomination?
I mean, we should
Okay.
to close.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we'll move to a roll call vote.
Janice Clemens,
James Ott,
Mr. Spear,
Dr. Ott,
Mr. Cormack,
Dr. Ott,
Mr. Shiliak,
Mr. Hallowell.
Ms. Rashino,
Mr. Hollowell,
Mr. Shermer,
Mr. Hello?
Mr. Rice,
Mr. Hall.
Mr. Hallowell. No, he said Dr.
Mr.
Ott.
Howell.
that's a tie.
What's the process on a tie?
Close it. Penalty shots.
Mr. Kern? Khan?
Mr. Khan,
There are, you can either reopen for nominations, basically start the process over again and see what happens. In this particular case, for this particular spot, you're not failing to reorganize. If you decide you're going to leave it vacant until January, you're okay. Nobody's, and then you can try and fill it at the January meeting when you won't have a tie. You don't want to do that obviously with the chair or the vice chair, but you can do that with the treasurer if you need to. So those are your options, to try it over again and see if you get a different outcome, or leave it vacant until January when you hopefully have 9.
well, I'm watching Teresa sigh heavily because she needs these signatures tonight to get started.
Well, you have a sitting treasurer, right? Who was the treasurer?
Does everybody just want to vote next month when everybody's here?
Well, Teresa would like to get it.
well, so can I just ask a question? What happens on the checks when that is, like, there's a vacancy then? And
Chair and the vice chair would sign, right?
no,
No.
not according to policy.
Because of our policy?
So technically, the way our policy, technically the way it reads, we have to remove the current treasurer and then put in the new treasurer because it's
Right.
not based on a fiscal year. So technically, you would still use the signature for the current treasurer, which would still be Mr. Spear until next month, and then next month it would switch to the new treasurer.
And in addition, if you had a vacancy in your treasurer, like if you had an appointed treasurer who was out for some reason, your vice chair would step into that role anyway to sign, and that's fine with your policy, Teresa. You don't have, so in this case, it happens to be the same exact person, so I'm fine with that. If you want to wait till January, Chris can sign your checks.
Or we can vote again. That's
Does it have
up
to vote
to
again?
everyone else.
Vote again?
No, it doesn't hurt to vote again.
Well, let's put it this way, does anyone want to change their vote? Because if no one's changing their vote, then it defeats the purpose of voting again, right?
I'm gonna change my vote.
Okay,
Do we need to do a separate roll call then, or?
I would think
I
so.
think so.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, the look. Oh, my goodness.
I've seen that look.
So do we need a new motion and a new second then, Mr. Khan?
To be clean, yes, it wouldn't really matter if you skipped it, but I'm going to invite another motion to nominate and another second.
Okay, I'll take motions for treasurer.
I'll nominate Mr. Howell.
I'll second Mr. Howell.
Okay, are there any other nominations? I think we know where this is going. Is there a motion to close nominations?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion for this. Or you can give Bob.
Okay, one of you can second?
I'll second it.
There you
It worked a lot better. when
All
you
in
said
favor?
it.
go. Aye.
Aye.
And now you don't actually have to do a roll call, though you can if you want. Since there's only one nomination, you can do a voice vote if you prefer.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Then Mr. Howell is the new treasurer.
That was easy.
Clean.
Okay. Now, as far as standing and special committee members, so our current committees, is there anyone who, we can just, why don't we just go district by district, because there will be one person on each committee. So we have finance, facilities, and programs, and then everyone is on policy. So currently, Mr. Hollowell is on finance for Palisades. I think Dawn is on programs and James Ott is on facilities. Do the three of you want to stay where you are, or does anyone want to change?
I'm good.
You're all good?
Yeah.
Okay. For Penridge, your facilities, your finance on programs,
I'm good with that.
okay? For Quakertown, you are facilities.
Well, we still.
And I don't think you-
Yeah.
And I don't think you two have had been assigned to one yet, so.
No.
So those are the three options, it's finance, facilities, and programs. So between the three of you,
Well, Diane, do you have a preference?
If, yes, I mean, yes, if you're asking, I would like programs.
programs, okay,
And then how would you with finance then?
I'll take part.
okay.
Sounds.
Tracy, did you get on that? Because there was a lot of changes.
JOC, are you okay with that?
Yeah, he said it was,
Yes, he said.
okay,
And Ms. Vanis Clemens?
Yes.
One last special committee that may need someone from Quakertown is the ESPA committee.
okay. So right now, the support staff contract negotiations, who from Quakertown, is there someone from Quakertown, of the three of you who would like to be on that negotiation?
Well, I am already on the Act 93 negotiating committee, so we should probably have one of you two.
Diane, how do you think?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Okay. And then currently, as far as chairs of those subcommittees, Mr. Hollowell is currently the chair of the finance committee. Based on the finance members, is that where you want to keep things?
Absolutely. fine
Sure,
with that.
fine.
Okay, facilities, the chair is currently Chris Fear. Is that, are we gonna keep that?
It works.
For programs, I'm currently the chair of programs. Everybody okay with that?
You could press order.
That's nice.
We have we're also all on the policy committee. The chair of policy, I believe, was Mr. Musantri. Are you pointing to me? You want me to be the chair? I'll be the chair unless someone else wants to be the chair of policy.
We could give that to somebody new as well, maybe Chuck or Diane.
If one of you want to do it, that's fine. I don't see volunteers. Policy is not usually popular for people.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah,
That's fine.
or-
Oh, go ahead. Did you-
No, I was just gonna say, I can share policy.
Oh, okay.
If-
Okay. All right, and then we're back to public comment. Do we have any comments from the public? No?
Robert Linden,
Ms. Linden?
West Rockville, Henridge. Did all the new people, are they familiar with the school now? Have they been familiarized with what the school does?
So actually, we just had an introduction yesterday for our new people. They got to come in and have lunch and tour the tech school. So we have really passionate people who are really interested in getting to know the schools. And I think, we're going to be continuing opportunities for them to come in and actually get to know our programs. And
Excellent.
as you know, Mr. Shermer is a returning member,
Right.
so he's already familiar as well.
I know Mr. Sherman. I just wondered about the younger people.
Yes, and I don't think everyone was able to make it, but we'll try to circle back around to make sure everybody gets an opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, any JOC concerns? All right, then is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second. We have to do that one.
No, that's in the regular meeting.
Oh.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, then we're adjourned. You want to go right into the,
Oh, yeah. 8:45. Mhm.
okay, so now we'll open the JOC board meeting. And we'll move right into public comment. Is there any comment on agenda items for this meeting?
Thank you. I'm Nancy Overton from Palisade School District, and there were two agenda items I had a question about. Number 7, the treasurer's bond, I'm assuming that this is like a type of insurance, not a salary for the treasurer, is that correct? And is this a typical thing that is done? And is the treasurer typically someone that has a finance or accounting background?
So legally, based on our JOC rules, we have to have a board member who serves as a treasurer. And that policy, we have to approve that we approve it every year, but it ends up being every 6 months because it's normally on a fiscal year. Because we reorganize differently, we actually have to end it and then restart it because we switch on an alternate basis. But it basically just ensures that position. It does not in any way financially benefit the person holding that position. And it's just something that we're required to do by law.
That's what I just want to clarify that. And then I had another question on number 6C, which is the November financial reports. And on the general fund expenditures for November 21 on page 5, there's a line item for executive director hand tools. And it's budgeted for $6,600, and to date, $7,390 has been spent on hand tools, which is $790 over budget. And that's in kind of stark contrast to 2019, where the director was budgeted $500 for hand tools, and none of that money was spent. And the following year in 2020, there was no money budgeted for hand tools. And then last year in 2021, by May, there was no data available for June, but by May, $5,141 were spent by the executive director for hand tools. So this is a lot of money spent on hand tools. It's like $12,000. I'm just wondering what kind of hand tools are being purchased? And why does the executive director need hand tools? And where are these hand tools? And is there an inventory or a list for them?
I don't think that's something that I don't think that's something that she'll be able to answer right on the spot, but if we can get the answer for you, and then maybe we can send that to you via email, or
Great.
we can also follow up at the next meeting with that answer for you.
Yes.
Are there any other public comments?
Teresa, I see you've taken a note. You've done, okay.
Okay. And I just want to announce that the board also held an executive session prior to the JOC this JOC meeting this evening to discuss legal and personnel matters. And we'll move on to administrative reports, the December student of the month.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Bennis-Clemens. I'd like to welcome both the returning and new members to the JOC. Thank you for your service. We know that you put a lot of time in, and I'd like to congratulate everyone on their positions. At this time, it's my privilege and honor to announce the December student of the month, William Gansel, who I believe is on line virtually. William Gansel, a Penn Ridge senior in our welding and fabrication technology program, has been named Student of the Month for December. William is the son of Ann and David Gansel. William was nominated by his instructor, Mr. Kozak, for consistently displaying outstanding performance in his program and at his work site. Last week, Mr. Kozak nominated William for November's Word of the Month, Respect, which is an essential workplace readiness skill needed for success in the workplace. William has earned both 10-hour and 30-hour OSHA safety certifications. He utilizes his technical and career readiness skills at Heritage Fence in Skip-Pack, where he's employed as a welder. In his free time, William enjoys working on cars and riding dirt bikes. After graduation, William hopes to continue his welding at Triangle Technical School in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So on behalf of the JOC, William, congratulations for being named December Student of the Month. Before we give you an opportunity to speak, I believe Mr. Kozak is on.
Yes, hello, good evening. I'd like to say a couple words about Will. So when speaking with some of the other instructors at Upper Bucks about the challenges students face when they transition from a traditional classroom to a hands-on lab, usually one thing we circle back to is students really need to be able to take the initiative and work independently. And when I submitted Will's name for Student of the Month, I was thinking of those traits of taking the initiative and working independently. He exemplifies each of those traits each and every day. He brings enthusiasm every day to the welding class, and it's infectious to the other students. Will is a student who will not wait for me to give him the next task. He will actually go out and seek the next task himself. It was no surprise to me that when Will came back over the summer that he had obtained welding employment on his own. That's Will for you. A student who does not wait for the opportunity to come his way, but will create it himself. We could all take a page from Will's book in that regard. Congrats, Will, and to your family. It's evident that your parents have instilled a great mentality and work ethic in you. Your future's bright. Congratulations, Will.
Well said, Mr. Kozak. William, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Kosak, for those very kind words. Yeah, but what he said was all right. You know, I get into the classroom and I'm just, excited to weld. I always found a excitement in welding, and I always am enthusiastic about everything we do. I'm always welding. I'm always getting into my booth and welding. If I finish a task, I'll finish out write out a task completion paper, and I'll, go to the next task. And, I just kind of, it drives me to keep going to the next task and the next task and keep going. So, yeah.
Well said.
Congratulations. Does anyone have a question for Will or any?
It's a great field to get into.
Yeah,
It's
fantastic.
a great industry. Welcome.
And congratulations. Are you going down to the Water Authority next week? Is that next week
Monday, yeah.
or Monday? Will?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. I hope you learn some more down there.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I'd like to move on to, just give me 1 second, please. It's trying to navigate between being in person and also on Zoom. So for my director's report, I would like to start off. We have a special guest, Ronald Broccolante and Ms. Steele from Broccolante Manufacturing. We have a long-term relationship with them. They're our special guests. When I started 8 years ago, I used a quote, and that quote was, "Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives." And recently I said, I better check who am I quoting? And that was Will A. Foster. And when I did some research on Will A. Foster, I learned that he was graduated from a vocational high school and in the machining program. He worked as a machinist and eventually became a Marine. William ended up receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor in his first battle. In order to serve and protect his fellow soldiers, they were involved with the grenade. He jumped on the grenade, gave his 2 grenades to the people that was in that foxhole and said, "Make them count." So this machine story recently came up, and I thought of Mr. Broccolante and his world-class operation locally and the skill that he provides, and also to the service of others. So Mr. Broccolante, Mrs. Deal, you're here. I'd like to turn over the floor to you.
Thank you, Mike. It's an honor to be here. I have some copies of the material I'm going to share with you tonight, so you can feel free to take it. I've got it. Find a copy machine around here, or just email me. I have some cards too. I can send to you. First of all, it is an honor to be here. This is the ground floor of our industry, and I'm sure the tradespeople in the room and the teachers and all that are here, I'll talk about the machining element or the trade as the foundation of all the other trades, because you can't really do anything without that trade. It all starts there, and that's what we talk about at Broccolante, and how we get motivated and excited, like William does about welding, which is awesome. That was great. A little bit of background. So I'm president, 3rd generation owner of Broccolante Manufacturing. We are a global solutions provider. That's kind of how we tag ourselves when we go out to the marketplace. But the fundamental thing that we do is precision machining. We reached about 50 million in sales this year. From 50, which my grandfather started the company in his garage. So we've come a long way. We manufacture aerospace, in the industries of aerospace, agriculture, automotive, defense, recreation, oil and gas, for companies like Tesla, John Deere, L3 Harris, or the Davidson, and many more. We have about 30 to 40 customers that we also service. So we're based in Trumbarsville. Most of you may not know where that is, but it's not that far. It's very small. But we also have operations in China, India, and Vietnam. My grandfather, Sylvain, who started this business as a local machine shop, basically just in the region. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade and started the company when he was 28 years old. So he took a lot of jobs on, mainly because the family needed money. They were farmers, and he just didn't see the reason to go to school. His family, and was just a tradesman. He was a mason, he was a carpenter, course, a machinist, he's a musician, taught himself how to play the accordion, the piano. I mean, just one of those people, you know, so fortunate to be his grandson. So let's talk a little bit about the foundation. So here's a man that was as big as life for me. When he passed away in 2014, he was 93 years old, still actively doing things for the community. And he was on the hospital board. He was part of the Boy Scouts. He was part of the Knights of Columbus. He was an avid lion, you know, for Troop Barnesville. And the things that he created are still being, you know, done today. So Brenda had the luxury of all of us, my father, in between my grandfather and I, ran the business as well. You know, we decided that we needed to start something to sort of, you know, memorialize him and carry on his legacy. He was always giving things to people. And it wasn't because he wanted to be on the front page of the newspaper the next day. It just was his nature to give. And he gave for a lot of reasons. And some of those reasons I'll never know. I learned more about him after he was gone because people would just come forward and say, hey, he co-signed on my house. He bought groceries for me when my husband was away or sick, and the story was just. So, you know, we started this, we wrote a mission, we wrote a purpose. I'll say the majority of the funds that we raise go towards the vocational educational programs in the area. Of course, Bucks being one of them. To date, we've raised since, like I said, 7 years now. We've raised nearly $200,000, of which $14,000 has been donated to this program right here. And most recently, the check was $5,000 that we donated. So, you know, that's the foundation and that's sort of the background. You know, we currently have 145 employees here, about 300 worldwide. We're actively looking for 15 to 20 more. So if you know anybody. But the problem really is where you start looking at the trade as the foundation, as the backbone of our company. Only about 5 to 10% of the people that we hire come from the trades, from the trade schools. Most of them have the trade, but they obtained it through different ways, maybe just working somewhere. Or so Brenda and I started, you know, talking about this years ago, looking at the, you know, rate of college tuitions coming down, and these schools, some of them weren't filling the programs, and others, like some of the post high schools, that is Stevens, Tech, some of the others, you know, can't handle the amount of kids that are coming. So our question is, where are these, you know, middle schoolers and high schoolers, you know, going? Which I'm sure you guys are faced with that same question a lot. But it is the backbone of our business. You know, so how can we help, right? So what we're trying to do things that we probably should have been doing, you know, decades ago. But, you know, rather than looking back, let's look forward. And the things that I think that would really help would be, you know, getting serious about recruiting. Start educating parents and kids sooner. I think some of the things that go on at the home schools should be fortified more with, you know, trades as an available career path for these students. We've got an individual that works for us right now that came through us, Bucks, Ray Slifer. I'm sure he was, you know, on your.
He's been awarded many times.
Yeah. So on your monthly award list, and I'm sure he spoke up because we've got him on camera too. Great individual, but you know, it's how, you know, companies like ours can work with the schools. You know, we can formalize a summer job into an internship or, you know, an apprenticeship program, right? Kids coming to us as a sophomore out of a trade are going to earn between $15 and $18 an hour, right? By the time they graduate high school, they'll be, you know, 20, you know, 19, 20, $21 an hour coming out of high school. Ray's way north of that already, and he's only 18 years old. So, I mean, Ray's an exception, I get it, but that's some of the kind of people and students that we need. We need the best of the class. And we need the exceptional kids. And Ray had a scholarship to go to college. He went, didn't like it. He dropped out. He felt he was learning more working for us. And we encouraged him to do the college, and we would work around the school, you know. But there you go. So it's not for everybody. And it doesn't mean that Ray doesn't go on, just using him as the example, to take a couple of classes or to get an associate's or bachelor's degree. You know, he's 18. You know, he's got plenty of years in time to do all of that. So, what we also look at is the trade student getting to a point where he gets a job or in a company like ours. By the time that they would be otherwise graduating college, they're earning between $40,000 and $60,000, which is about the range of a wage for a college education today, right? Without the debt. So there's a lot of benefits to all this. I think part of me is speaking to the choir here, but on the same token, I just want you to know I'm here. I love what we're doing. We have manufacturing day. We moved it to the spring because of COVID and the coordination with the schools this year. So, we welcome all of you to come to one of those. We'll certainly get you the dates and things. But we do a tour throughout the facility. We have actual people that are running the equipment, give the tour at their cell, at their station. So they get somebody other than me talking about it. And they can ask them questions. How did you get here? What was your career path like? So those are the stories that we'd like to try to get to the homeschool. I know you guys have, days where colleges come in. We'd love to see days when the trades can come in and put up booths so that these kids have an opportunity to look around and say, hey, mom, dad, this is what I went to today. What do you think? And have options. Same thing with the parents and the meetings that the parents would go to. Allow the trades to be there to share with them pictures and videos of things that are going on in the classrooms. One thing about our business here at Trimbarsville is we're out in the entire world. It's a global business, bringing revenue back to this region, raising money for the benefit of this school and many others. So there's a lot of things that can really can come out of this that I'm would be more than happy to help with and share. So just wanted to share that with you today. There's a couple of other statistics on this page of the millions of jobs that are available in this trade, but you can read that on.
Thank you. We all appreciate your passion and all of the great ideas that you're sharing, because, we're all having these same conversations about, how can we, what else can we do to promote? What else can we do to help kids see these paths sooner? Because, a lot of times you've got kids that are realizing later, oh man, I wish had I known, I would have, learned this skill or this trade, early on. And so I know as the sending districts, we've been pushing things earlier and earlier as far as trying to get that information and that exposure to kids. And to your point too, to parents too, because I think sometimes, they don't really see all of what you're seeing. And so I think that's helpful. And we've also talked about sometimes it's the messenger too, and bringing someone in who's passionate like you and can speak from the industry, I think is really helpful too, to hear, for kids to hear from people who are doing it, from people in the field who have that passion and excitement, rather than maybe, just hearing it from people they hear from all the time, and then it kind of just gets lost in the delivery of everything else, all the other information that they get. So thank you so much for your support of our program and offering to help. And I know we will be taking advantage of that. So thank you. And please send Mike that information about the, when you have those opportunities, because I'd love to come in and tour. And I know, there's many other JOC members who I think would also love to come in and do that too.
April for manufacturing day, but even if you wanted to hold your next JOC meeting there, we can do that. We have space there.
Field trip. Well, you're gonna make Dennis try to pull that one off.
Yeah.
His head just exploded.
Although we did take a field trip back there, and you were bringing a camera like behind, right? So
It's fun.
I was trying to give you a little more props than.
The nice thing about the manufacturing day is we really do set the plan for touring. It takes us a couple weeks to prepare. It's really well done. We have videos. Some of the equipment you can't see what's going on because a lot of the more advanced equipment is encased, and you can barely see. There's windows, but they're covered with corner things. So it is really the best time to tour. And we were ready for the kids, but we could be ready, another day or two if we have to be for other reasons. And it's come up about parents, trying to maybe come out and see what's going on. So we're open for those discussions as well as anything else, and we'd love to to, get on a committee of some kind that maybe could help you with this, because I think it is a ground game. I always said, for the parents, it has to make sense. So that's more the financial part of it. For the kids, it has to be cool. Between the two, if you can satisfy both there, you're gonna have something.
And as far as the GAC and the OAC,
So Megan, I will clear that, so we've been, helping or involved with Upper Bucks the longest. We support actually 6 technical high schools. The 3 in Lehigh Valley, Western Montgomery, yourself, and North Monco. So, but we've been involved with your school the longest. We do have a member on the OAC. Rich Nasty is one of our manufacturing engineers.
Graduated from the school.
Yes, and I am on the GAC, come to those meetings, so we are ingrained here. And Upper Bucks is close to our hearts because you're the first and so we have supported many different ways. And we look forward to supporting. That first, I've been in HR over 30 years now, so we feel the next level is getting to those parents. And how do we get to those parents and get to those parents through the homeschools? We need that homeschool buy-in now. We have the partnership with the schools. Now we need the partnership with the homeschools. We need to go that next step to do that, to get to the kids, if you will. We're open to any type of suggestions. We have a think tank too. We have a lot of partners in this industry too that are interested as well. So it's not just gonna be Broccolente. So I think we can get some good things accomplished. We just need to get a group together.
To that point, we had more outside fundraising this year than we had ever seen. So other companies, local companies, family owned, most of them, private held, that are also now contributing. So it's getting some momentum. Initially it was small, but it's getting momentum. And that's another thing I want to let you know. We are at a minimum maintaining the level that we're at. So if it was 5 this year, it'll be 5 next year. But we've been able to keep raising that, right? Because it's just getting bigger, right? And the problem is, the timing is really good. When you start talking about where your next hire gonna come from. We've all had stories about some business that we know or maybe that we own that is understaffed. So, it's easy to get attention. People lean in when you start talking about this, which is great. So,
Well, thank you so much. And even more than your annual checks, your
Yeah.
presence at these functions, your passion, your drive, and your support for our programs, like with these committees that help create the agenda or the curriculums and everything else is invaluable. And you are, like you said, these technical schools are your backbone. You are these students' end goals.
Right.
So, us being in a partnership, and I agree 100% that we need to do more at our sending schools to drum up support for this. And I will, speak with the people from Quakertown to say, hey, maybe at our, college fair every year, it becomes a college and career fair where we could, and it may already be, but the word may not have spread as good as it should have.
Dr. Harder has been to our place. We've talked to him several times. So he's aware of Broccolente too. So.
And I'm aware of it too. I drive by every time. I live in Spinnerstown.
So
I
stop
drive
anytime. For a tour. Anytime. You're welcome.
yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll leave the material here. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great
Yeah.
holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Continuing with my report and newsletter, we're very thankful for the support for professional development. We're currently in the comprehensive plan process to finalize. And I also was thankful to serve on Penn Ridge's comprehensive plan. I took the Harvard Graduate School of Education, leading school strategy and innovation. We appreciate the support from the JOC to make sure that we are up to date. In my program, we're going to be talking about a recently signed articulation agreement with Bucks County Community College, where our students can earn up to 18 credits. Mr. Ritter was very instrumental in putting this together. We're looking to partner with the college in other avenues. Rodney Altomos is going to be meeting with me next week. They have full-time grant writers, and we're going to look to partner on some grants. Again, bringing that synergy from secondary to post-secondary. Mr. Dietrich is here, and I wanted to go over both the holiday poinsettia and wreath sale, and we'll let him do that. Mr. Dietrich?
Hi, everyone. So we're in the process on my side of the ag building. We've been taking care of poinsettias in the greenhouse, and we've been in the process of tearing apart Christmas trees and turning them into beautiful wreaths. Mr. Hallowell graciously purchased 2 wreaths, and so we have a couple of wreaths in the back here in the room that you guys want to take a look at. We are still selling wreaths and poinsettias, and so if you're interested in getting some for your family, just let Dr. Herrera know. He has the link in email that he can send, and we can get that order placed. And on behalf of the FFA chapter, we have brought you each a poinsettia to take home. So all the poinsettias here, you have your choice. We have white, pink, and red poinsettias for you to take a look and take one home with. So we really want to thank you for your continued support with the FFA chapter. So
Thank you. Mr. Dietrich, would you continue with the farm show update? I'm not sure if Mrs. Dank is on.
yeah, Mrs. Danka actually, knowing that I was in, asked me to speak. So again, we want to thank you for your continued support of the FFA chapter. Myself and Mrs. Danka want to cordially invite every member of the JOC to the 10th Pennsylvania State Farm Show, the State FFA Midwinter Convention, which is at the Farm Show Complex in Harrisburg on January 10th from 2 to 4. This year, we are fortunate and blessed to have a total of 5 seniors receiving their Keystone degrees and 2 first-year students to receive their first FFA jackets during the ceremonies. These 7 students represent all 3 sending schools, 2 students from Palisades, 3 students from Penridge, and 2 students from Quakertown. And this is a first ever for the chapter that we have all 3 sending schools represented in the ceremonies. And so we really are excited for that. Just some background information for you to understand. To receive their Keystone degree, a senior must fill out an application that's evaluated by the State FFA Association, where prior to the start of the senior year, they must demonstrate their excellence as a student in their school, both here at the tech school and at the sending school. An employee within a workplace, their excellence as their excellence as a member within the community. These students had to demonstrate through documentation that they completed at a minimum 300 hours of work on any form of work site, 25 hours community service, been an active member of the local FFA chapter, and had participated in over 5 different activities above the chapter level as well. And it's an extremely rigorous award for these seniors to receive. And so we really want you to feel free to come and see them and kind of celebrate with them as they get that chance to walk across the stage there at Farm Show to get recognized. For the level 1 students to receive their FFA jackets, they had to submit an application answering questions such as why they were interested in joining FFA and what they hope to get out of being here in the programs, and also they hope to get out of FFA as well. Those applications were evaluated by members of the Pennsylvania Alumni Association and were selected based upon the application. This year, we were told that the applications were all highly competitive. And so even though we only had 2 students receiving their jackets there at the ceremonies, we do have a couple of additional opportunities for additional 9th and 10th graders that are the first year students in the program to receive some more jackets in the upcoming months. And we also are planning to have the recipients of the Keystone Awards and also the recipients of those jackets to be attending the next board meeting to kind of have a chance for you to ask more questions, to know more about what they have done throughout their time here at the tech school and as FFA members, to kind of have a better idea of what it really took and how great and wonderful these kids truly are to get these awards. So again, we want to cordially invite you to attend the Midwinter Convention, and I really do want to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to the students, and both to you, Mr. Dietrich and Mrs. Danka, for setting that up. One thing about our students, our career technical student organizations, they're very resourceful. They get great tutelage from our instructors, and many of them found ways to take care of animals outside. So Mrs. Danka, we talked to her in our program, will be going on field trip there. She's also going to be accompanying students who work outside of their program area with animals to bring them out there. So we thank you both for your efforts, and we you're doing a great job.
And Dr. Herrera, can we get onto the website, a link to ordering the wreaths and poinsettias? So, I was looking while you were speaking of that, and there's really nothing right here. I mean, possibly right here on the front page of the website would be a good.
And do you have some kind of flyer for this that you can send to us? Because anytime that any of the programs are having any kind of sales like this, it would be really helpful if you could, if any staff members can email us a copy of that so we can circulate it at the sending schools and have them circulate it as well to bring some more, attention to the programs and outside support and, and business for our program. So.
This year with the wreath and poinsettias, because we weren't able to do it last year due to the renovations and because of COVID, I wanted to kind of do a little bit smaller scale, so I didn't want to try to sell so many out as I tried to do that first year when I was here. So we do have poinsettias and wreaths still available for sell, but I was trying just to limit that initial because
So you'd prefer we not try to make this go viral, is what you're telling me?
However, Mr. Dietrich, we do work very closely with the Chamber of Commerce and they purchased it, et cetera. So we were strategic in the workload, but duly noted, we will do a good job of communicating.
The plan next year is to do a lot more because the other issue I had is I only have 10 kids that ever had experience of putting a wreath together, and I have 30 kids that have no experience putting a wreath together. So I was like, I'm not going to try to do too much, knowing that I got 30 kids that have never done this before. So
We only have 32 people on this meeting. When our Quakertown meetings have been sometimes pushing 400 and 500 people. That's why I said, if you did need more advertising, just like Penn Ridge, you just let us know and we'll
definitely
help get the word out.
It's a lot of work with these wreaths together too.
I know. We saw in our tour yesterday the messy floor over there with all the wreath parts around.
In terms of outreach, what Mr. Broccolante said, reaching the middle schools a couple of years ago, we redesigned the website. We're very active on social media, which we'll promote through Twitter, LinkedIn, and the newsletter. The newsletter goes to all parents. We work very closely with the sending school districts to promote all tweets, whether it's from their particular school or not, and the newsletters. We don't want to be the best kept secret anymore, so we appreciate that, and we have a very strong marketing plan. You'll see a lot of the different activities with respect and the best attendance award in the newsletter. Next week, with our continued partnership with Bucks County Community College, we'll have them working with applications for students who want to apply to Bucks County. They'll be in the building. Thank you, Rodney, and that group. And then most importantly is our placements. We always promote the success of our students, and you'll see Caleb Jackson with Auto Express, Katie Pakula, and we celebrate these placements. Mr. Kozik, there's a couple different things. We want to promote brazing and welding, all the latest technology. And we always have to thank our food services program. They not only provide great nutritious, but the ambiance, they really go above and beyond making it nice for our students. And we thank them for that. So I know it's a little verbose with my report, but there's a lot of great things happening and we're very proud and we thank everyone for their support. And what's the next?
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done with my report, sorry.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so next is the discussion on the health and safety plan and possible amendment. I know Mr. Spear put together a modified version, which was sent out to JOC members and is also posted publicly in board docs so that the community can see it as well. But it was a suggestion. It wasn't added as an agenda. It wasn't added directly to the agenda so that any kind of modifications can be made, not just that specific example, but we can start with that as the conversation. And, I think what Mr. Spear tried to do was make sure that the health and safety plan would be aligned to what the sending districts are doing so that we can all be on the same page and when they're in their sending schools and when they're here, that things are pretty comparable. Mr. Spear, did you want to walk through the changes that you were suggesting in the plan?
Sure, and I wanted to bring it up too, that this health and safety plan hasn't been updated since August 19th of 2021. And during that time, we've seen state mandates come and go, federal guidelines change. There's been a lot of changes to what we can work with and what we have been working with. So and now that all of the state mask mandates have been lifted, and the 3 sending districts are all moving to a mask optional model, that these changes also, I based a lot of them off of Palisades' recently adopted health and safety plan. So some of the language I copied directly from that. Sorry for plagiarizing it. But most of these changes are, I can walk through them one at a time, but my glasses are not that good and my computer's far away. So, oh, okay, there we go. So in the beginning, I'm just removing some language about the governor's masking order, which is now expired, so that doesn't need to be in there. And then I added a little line that said, or this part was part of the plan that said masks will be optional for all that choose to wear them while on Upper Bucks County Technical School property or participating in school-sponsored activities. And I added a line to the end of that that just said if a school-sponsored event is taking place at an outside location, then the participants will follow the vendor's regulations. Just as we were talking about field trips earlier, if say the cosmetology class went to, New York City or something where there's mask mandates in the Javits Center, they would have to wear masks. Little things like that. And then I just removed a lot of language that no longer applies, all this masking language. And then we were going to discuss possibly discontinuing the spraying that's going on in the evening that's above and beyond the cleaning that we're doing. It's a contracted service that comes in. Quakertown discontinued this service a long time ago, and I believe, it's not quite as effective as it once was thought to be. And I also removed the line from our health and safety plan that said cloth furniture and area rugs will not be allowed in classrooms, that now they would be. Not that there's many area rugs or plush couches in welding classes or machining classes, but then there was this line that's important, that the Upper Bucks County Technical School will not be performing contact tracing in the event that any student, staff member, or visitor has been identified as a close contact by any health authority, regardless of the nature of this contact. They're encouraged to monitor for symptoms and may return to class, work, or visitations as long as they remain symptom-free and are not placed under any official quarantine orders from that health authority. So that's basically saying that the Upper Bucks Tech School will not be doing the contact tracing. If another authority does quarantine them, then that authority's quarantine will follow them to here. But if the tech school will not be doing contact tracing, and that is something that has been happening in most of the surrounding districts as well. And again, I removed the line in there that had to do with contact tracing after that. We're in section F now. And then I just changed the one language to saying emergency contacts must be up to date. Symptomatic students must be picked up within an hour and will not be sent home on a bus. It's pretty standard language there, and that's basically it. So I made it seem like it was a lot of changes, but it's really, the only real change here was updating a lot of now outdated language and then removing the part about the in-school quarantining, because that also puts extra strain on the nurse in here. Sending districts, whether they're doing it or not, are doing it or not. That would follow them to here. This school shouldn't be doing something separate and different from what the sending districts are doing. So that's the summary of the changes that I'm proposing.
So do any JOC members have any questions, comments, concerns?
Sounds good to me.
What's the administration think of the changes?
We're in agreement with that.
Okay, so we're in agreement. They're the ones who are gonna have to enforce it.
I did have a conversation with Mrs. Reinheimer. et
That's what I
cetera.
was just gonna ask.
And so we appreciate it. We reviewed it. We've had discussions. We have a sample letter that we could, discuss and be able to implement.
Okay.
Perfect.
What if the governor or the feds come back with a new ruling and say we have to do masking? Is there anything in here that prohibits that?
No,
We would just have to modify the order based on any new masking order.
well, we wouldn't have to monitor our health, and that's where we've been, like Quakertown. Our health and safety plan stayed the same. The masking order just lays on top of it, so as soon as that new masking order would expire, then you revert back to the current plan.
Okay, I didn't understand that answer. I'm just simple.
I think what
question.
he's saying is it any mandate from the government supersedes our health and safety plan, so we don't actually need to change our health and safety plan, and then when it expires,
You don't have
it
to
would
reference
revert
that
back to
law?
our health and safety plan.
No,
It's expired.
yeah, I believe Penn
I know it's
Ridge,
expired, but if you reinstate it, what happens?
your new health and safety plan in Palisades doesn't have a statement in there. Penn Ridge's doesn't have that statement.
Okay.
Quakertown's may, but we're gonna be working on some amendments to Quakertown's health and safety plan at our next meeting as well.
Sounds good.
Okay, so,
We want to ask Mr.
would you
Khan
like to
then,
make a motion?
do we need to make a motion to discuss whether?
No, it was advertised, so you're good. If someone wants to make a motion to adopt the changes that you've laid out, they can just make that motion right now. If someone wants to make a different motion, like I want to do this, this, and this of what Mr. Spear laid out, they can do that too. But someone can just make a motion about an amendment they're seeking right now.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the proposed changes that I just outlined.
I'll second. Mr. Rice seconded. Questions or comments from JSC members? All in favor?
Yep. All right.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Okay, next we'll move on to subcommittee reports, facilities.
Yeah, I'll have to go back into my other meeting. Okay, the facilities committee met today at about 6:30. And we discussed getting proposals for snow removal companies to come in and help or do the entire job of removing snow. Previously, that was done in-house. We've been short on staff, plus it does take a lot of resources away from other people that would normally not be on building maintenance duties to help remove snow. So we think that that's an important step in maintaining a safe school environment if snow falls. We had an update from Garland about our roofing warranty. And we did approve making the corrected changes to get our roof warranty back up to date. And we also have approval of the language of the new contract. So I believe we'll be moving forward with getting quotes for that in the next few meetings. Yep. And we have been conducting interviews for the supervisor of building and grounds, and we will hopefully have a new supervisor hired by next meeting. And that's it for facilities.
Finance?
Finance met this meeting this evening at around 6. We heard from the auditor, got their report. The staff here have done a very good job. We got a clean report. There were no findings. And it came out pretty good. I mean, the details are in the numbers and There's a lot of numbers, so I won't say any more than we did pretty good.
You got a clean report.
Yes.
And do you have anything else to add?
I just wanted to say that she, so there will be a changing with recording the unpaid liabilities for the future years. There'll be a statement of subsequent events in the audit, and depending on the amount of federal grant money in 21-22, we may need to have a single audit next year.
Okay, and we didn't actually have a policy subcommittee meeting this evening, but we are having the first reading for the policies that were shared last meeting. And those are also, I believe, in this folder
In the back,
for,
yes.
and were sent, so hopefully new JOC members had the opportunity to review those. If not, this is the first reading, so they will be coming back for a second read.
And they are published on board docs for any of the new members or the members that aren't present.
And then program subcommittee.
Sure, thank you. We went over our exercise science and sports technology budget. We've been talking about this over the last few months regarding it. We are looking to post the position and begin to advertise and market the program. At a previous meeting, we set up a website and program description for the sending schools to market this. We've been in contact with our Enroll Track, our online application, to advertise that. Today, we had the privilege of hosting all of the guidance counselors from the 3 sending school districts. And I presented the program to them. They were very excited about it. And that's my update for the exercise science sports technology program. Our students and from Animal Tech and are very excited. We're able to bring the dogs and animals back. They were prohibited due to COVID restrictions, but in January, the services of doggy daycare, grooming, and those services will be returned. And the Bucks County College update, which I previously went over during my report, was discussed. And that's my program update.
And the JOC had agreed to move the new program forward so that we can begin advertising at the sending schools for that new program. And when Mrs. Cram believes it is the most optimal time, she will post for that position. So if anyone knows interested candidates who may want to teach that program, you know, start to spread the word, because that's going to be coming their way too. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So next up is the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Keep it moving.
Moved by Mr. Rice, seconded by Mr. Cormack. Questions or comments from JOC members?
Not at all.
All in favor?
Oh, I did have one question, I'm sorry. Dr. Herrera, I'm sure you're gonna miss your 17 days of vacation that we agreed to pay you for the rest of the year. So I'm sorry, but I'm glad you'll be here to work through those.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was it. It wasn't very important.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 8-0. Okay, next is the treasurer's bond. I'll make a motion to secure a bond in the amount of $75,000 for an individual appointed or elected to the position, we'll just say for Jim Hollowell, elected to the position of treasurer for the Joint Operating Committee.
I'll second it.
Questions or comments from JOC members? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Okay, next is the revised policies. Make a motion to approve the revised policies 206, 218, 218.1, 218.2 as distributed in November and recommended by the policy subcommittee.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second, I'm sorry.
okay. Questions or comments from board members? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Okay, next I'll make a motion to approve the renewal of third-term procurement contact with Clearview School Services commencing January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 for the sum of $800. Have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments from JOC members? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Next, I'll make a motion to approve option 2 with Garland as recommended by the Facilities Subcommittee at the November 18th, 2021 meeting in the amount of $88,000 pending solicitor's review.
I'll second that.
Questions or comments from JOC members?
Yes. I want to get brought up to speed on this. I won't hold us up now, but maybe offline, somebody can give me a download on why we need to do this. I thought we put new roofs on the place 4 years ago.
So brings us current to the status, so. for the-
You're-
The actors are that are $88,000 is a lot of money. Because we just put 23 million into this place.
Right.
So I just have a question. I
And-
wanna
and it
hold
was-
hold the meeting, but
No, and
I'm
you,
gonna ask
that's,
a lot of
it's a valid
stupid
point because it was, no, it's a great question because it would have been under warranty, which is what you remember. And so if I were coming back right now, I'd have the same question you have because you would
my
expect it to
roof's
still be
guaranteed
under.
for 20
warranty.
years.
The,
It's a lot cheaper than this roof was. That's all right. I won't hold it up.
Yeah.
But
The
this
warrant-
is one of those things.
the-
No, I don't want the short
all
story.
right, we'll update you
PDF
then
version.
afterwards. Any other questions or comments from JOC members?
No.
Okay. Mr. Rice answered for everyone.
No, the
It
PDF
seems to
version.
at the moment.
No, I'm just saying the PDF version, so that we would be up to speed, you have the document.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Okay, I'll make a motion to pay expenses for students going to districts on February 2nd, 2022 with a snow day of February 3rd, 2022. 2 buses will be used to transport students to the Allentown Agriplex. Total cost to UBCTS not to exceed $3,560. Total cost to Skills USA Student Activity Fund not to exceed $3,035.
Second,
Questions or comments from JOC members?
This is probably one of the more important field
Yeah,
trips that any of our
absolutely.
students make every year. So
Absolutely. You got
Okay, all in favor?
it. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. I didn't see on here, I think we have to make this as a separate motion that was supposed to be under the health and safety plan. To end even though we changed it in the health and safety plan, I think we also need to have a motion. So I'll make a motion to end the spray services that we are currently doing.
Ms. Vanis Clemens, does the amended health and safety plan eliminate the spray cleaning?
It did.
Then don't worry about it. You're good.
So that's okay? Okay, I thought we
That's
needed a
sufficient.
motion.
Yep.
Okay,
well, I believe so. If that is this line that said continued deep cleaning 2 days a week with the possibility of increase, that is the spraying, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the part that was removed, so.
Okay, you're good.
okay, all right, perfect.
Sorry.
Okay, then I think that brings us back to public comment. Or actually, yeah, public comment. Are there any other public comments?
I just have one.
Sure.
I was kind of debating whether to say this or not, but since I'm here, I'll go ahead. So in November, I spent election day at the polls at Cal State High School, and I'm talking to my neighbors. And my big takeaway from that day, what more people approached me to talk about was not CRT or masks, but school taxes, their school taxes. Senior citizens and people on fixed incomes with grown kids or no kids at all were feeling burdened by their school taxes and felt that they were unfair. One woman told me that her school tax bill is now higher than her original mortgage bill used to be for her home. They have no control over this tax bill, and no matter how frugally they live. Unlike the electric bill where they can reduce the usage, or the grocery bill where they can buy different items in the store, there's no negotiating their tax bill. They have to pay it or risk losing their home. So the districts that fund the school, Palisades, Quakertown, and Penn Ridge, there's some affluent people here, but the majority are people that work hard for their money, often with not a lot left to spare, and certainly no interest in seeing it wasted or abused. And once that money is pulled together, sometimes it can become anonymous. And the direct connection from the people whose hourly wage built that fund can fade. And this disconnect increases the chance that it could be misused. I usually look at those financials for the Bucks County Technical School, but I find them kind of hard to digest. I try, but it's difficult to see exactly what the money is being spent on. That's why I asked about the tools. And as busy as all of you are with this school and your home districts and your professional and your family lives, you can't be expected to decipher those pages. They kind of routinely just get approved. So we have to trust our board treasurer and our school business manager, make sure that they're good and they're accurate. In a former administration, things used to be done differently here. You know, when I was an employee here, I felt the purse strings were tighter and there was a higher accountability for everybody. I remember a personal experience when Mrs. Reese and I, we both wanted to go to this transition conference for special ed students. It was directly related to both of our occupations here. Myself as a special ed teacher, herself as a cooperative education teacher. But we were told that just one of us could attend. We weren't happy, but we understood that this was taxpayer money and it wasn't up to us how it was going to be spent. This was just one example of the stringent financial stewardship of the past administrators. You may or may not be aware of it, but this certainly has not been the practice for conferences this year. I know you can't talk about it, but I know that there continues to be an investigation and you're pulling together pieces from individuals that seems to be forming a troublesome pattern. To me, this is a scandal bigger than any one of us alone was aware of, and it's slowly being uncovered. And then there's going to be decisions, what are you going to do about it? And they're going to be hard decisions. But I really am pleading with you that misdeeds of this magnitude should not be swept under the rug, that this can should not be kicked down the road for another school to handle. Now, my question to you is, if criminal activity is discovered, will law enforcement be involved? And will the public get to learn the outcome of your investigation? We owe this community of taxpayers transparency and truth. This is public school, paid for with public school money, and when it is said and done, the public has the right to know if they've been defrauded. And we all may gain some peace of mind knowing that the individuals are not getting away with exploitation. And it would be a slap in the face to obligate taxpayers to fund the pension of a person who's fleeced them. So I thank you for your efforts most sincerely. Late is better than never, but I hope that there's some fundamental changes to be made to prevent these abuses from being possible in the future. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? No? Okay. As far as the financial piece that you started off with, I know that Mrs. Hoflich has shared some thoughts on tightening things and making things more transparent, and also trying to put some other parameters in place to tighten up the financials. So I appreciate your feedback, and I know that that's something that Mr. Cormack has also brought up, and I know that the two of them have had discussions. And so our focus is always being as fiscally responsible as possible and making sure that we do the best we can with the funds that we have to make sure that we have the best programs available for our students, but make sure that we do it responsibly and use every dollar appropriately. As far as the investigation, obviously we can't comment on that. All I can tell you is that, we take our positions very seriously, and, we will do the right thing and do what go through the process and again, we take our positions very seriously, so the outcome would be dictated by the information, so.
Thank you.
And I will expand a little bit on what Teresa and what Mr. Cormack were discussing in the past was actually making those reports more legible and more clear and more transparent as well as, tightening them up, as she said. So I understand it's hard for me to follow as well.
You're the
Sometimes.
treasurer, yes.
I was, now it's on Jim. So yeah, I mean, there is an effort ongoing to try to make those reports more legible.
Okay. All right, the next regular JOC board meeting is scheduled for January 20th at 8 PM in the JOC boardroom, number 205 for JOC members and UBCTS administration, and via Zoom for public attendance, as well as in person for public attendance. I think that's a typo. And then last is joint operating committee concerns. Anyone? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. No, big motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.
See you next